Welcome back, everyone. We have a new show here. We're going to answer your questions. Anything that I say is definitely not meant to replace any chemical petroleum products that you might get as drugs. And so if you do get some type of cure involving some of the remedies we recommend, don't mention our names. All right, Steve, let's just dive right in.
I think you covered that well, Dr. Berg. Anyway, I'm so excited. I've become addicted to all these great questions that you come up with. And audience, I don't know the answer either, so I'm really excited. So why don't we kick off with one of those this week? And Dr. Berg, here's the first fascinating question.
All right, so let me just pull this up right here. Okay, why does the lens of the eye not have blood vessels? And by the way, it also doesn't have a lymphatic system. So why is that?
Wow, how does it stay alive, for goodness sakes? That sounds so strange. Okay, why don't we jump right over to social media because we love them as well. And Vinod from YouTube kicks it off with, what are your thoughts about human consumption of cow or buffalo milk as by nature it's only suitable for animals? By nature, it's only suitable for animals. What do you think about those things?
Well, I mean, I think the real important thing, way more important than that, is if it's raw versus pasteurized, because the pasteurization, we have a calf that was just born from a cow that was just too small. And there was a lot of problems, in fact, to the point where the mother is not feeding the calf. So we have to bottle feed it. So I've done some research on the pasteurization of milk, even in calves versus raw milk. Huge difference in organs, like the color of your organs, the health of your body. So if you're going to do milk, I would definitely go raw. I prefer to have some raw milk in a fermented product like cheese, raw cheese, maybe kefir, that type of thing. That's usually better. But some people are sensitive to milk. They have allergies, and there is a little bit of sugar in milk, so that's another problem. So how does that relate to humans? Definitely if you're pregnant or lactating, well, of course, if you're pregnant and you're deciding if you're on the edge about breastfeeding, I would definitely go that route, because I would think, and this is just my own opinion, that the pasteurization is going to be similar to some of the formulas that they put out there, that I could only imagine what that does to our bodies.
Wow. Well, I currently, in my little glass next to me, I have my famous cold brew coffee, and I put 100% heavy cream in it, and it's so delicious. Now I know it's probably pasteurized and all that, but it's not making me fat. And just keep the sugar out, and
I think if you're just doing, like in your coffee creamers, that's what I do. I mean, it's really hard to find raw cream, but the point is that if you're going to be drinking a good amount of milk, definitely make sure it's raw, not pasteurized.
Very good. Emo from YouTube, just like so many others, I just had my gallbladder removed. What supplement should I take for a fatty liver and loss of a gallbladder? He's mourning the gallbladder already. Please write out your answer, as I am deaf. Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for all of your work. And I don't know if you can, in between some things here, maybe type it into our little chat. Or no, he won't see that. I'm sorry. Anyway, we'll make sure that your question gets answered. And thanks for participating, even sans
Well, I
hearing.
think maybe someone on our team can type in the answer. But is choline? Choline is what you want to do if you have a fatty liver, and as well as some bile salts. Start taking bile salts, because one of the big purposes of a gallbladder is to concentrate the bile. And so not just store it just for release when you eat, but concentrate. So now you don't get that concentration. So now we have this bile is not as strong. And so how is that going to affect the extraction of those fat-soluble nutrients? Well, I think it could affect it, especially long-term.
Very good. Give me just a moment. I am typing it in. Spell choline for me, Doc.
CHLO. No, it's CHOLINE, I guess.
Put you on the spot there, but let's see here. Choline.
I have to write it out.
Exactly. All right, there you go.
CHOLINE.
Oh, it looks like
Choline.
I type chlorine. Don't do that. Don't
No.
take that.
No.
Emo.
Please.
Audience, help me out here. Would you put emo? This is where the audience comes in. Don't listen to Steve. It's choline. I don't want him gulping any chlorine. So help us out there. Let's see. But Patty, instead of typing the answer, let me get to her question on YouTube. Are ice baths good for you? What are your thoughts? And audience, don't forget to correct me here. Emo, tell them it's choline. Okay, what do you think about Patty's question?
Yeah, the ice baths are very therapeutic, even though they're very uncomfortable, especially in the winter for some reason. But if you can withstand that, and by the way, if you want to increase your tolerance to that, B1 can help you, because if you're deficient in B1, your tolerance goes down for stress, all stress, not just slow drivers, but also temperature gradients, like if it's too cold or too hot. So yes, I think that's very therapeutic. If you could do it, boy, that would really drop your inflammation, increase your cognitive function. Find a nice pond you can jump into in the winter, and or just an ice bath, and experience the therapeutic benefits of that. Or you can just take a cold shower. How about that? I've done videos on that.
Oh, yeah, that's terrific. That'll get you up and at 'em. Okay, why don't we go to the green room? And our first participant is Guy, who is in Colorado, but originally from Israel. And he has one question for you. And go ahead with your question. You're on with Dr. Berg. Guy.
Good morning. I started intermittent fasting a couple of weeks ago after watching some of your videos. And the only thing that I don't do, or the only thing that I do, which might be a problem, is that I drink, I make my own coffee, and I drink one cup of coffee in the morning. I have the sizes, so it's really small. And the problem with that is it's an espresso, and I put a little bit of milk in it. I typically stop eating at 7 p.m. in the night, and I drink this cup of coffee at 7 a.m., so it's like 12 hours. After the cup of coffee, I don't eat, I drink water, but I don't eat anything until noon. And then from noon to 7 is my window, my eating window. So, and this is lactose-free, fat-free milk, just in case. I don't know if you notice the difference. So I know that I'm breaking the fast by putting some milk in that, but my question is, am I still getting the benefits of intermittent fasting? Am I losing it, but just by drinking this little bit of milk in the morning, basically?
It really depends on one thing, and that's calories, how much of it. And I think that amount is going to vary. It's going to affect you in a very tiny way. If it's going to be very small. So I don't think I would worry about it. I think it's a small point. I think you're still going to get the massive benefits. Even for example, you have this fasting window and you have this eating window. Let's say you're eating between 12 and 6. Some people have this idea that, wow, I could eat anything I want right through the eating window, and they're snacking and all this other stuff. Well, if you don't do that, you get a nice little drop in insulin. So I just recommend don't snack through the eating window. But yeah, I think it's a minor point. I think you're going to be fine.
Thank you. I actually don't. I eat lunch, and then because the intermittent fasting got me to, I really don't eat anything between lunch and dinner. I don't need to. I don't feel hungry.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember I used to be so hungry in the morning. Now it's like, I don't, it's like it just repels. I'm like, I don't want any food. So it definitely does work once you get your body fat adapted.
Boy, that's incredible. Well, thank you so much, Guy, for coming on with us. We appreciate it. Sorry for the echo, folks. One of my co-producers slapped me on the back of the head and said, fix that. So, Guy's final comments were echo-free. And let's move on. By the way, I'm going to admonish the audience. I think we didn't get any answers for question number 1. Let me repeat that for you, audience. Why does the lens of the eye not have any blood vessels? Let's look at that, folks. And if you give it another shot, you probably were trying to save emo from my chlorine recommendation and typing that in. I hope that's the reason. But audience, please get back to that because we'd love your participation.
Well, it could be because it might be a hard question to answer. So should I just give the answer?
Yeah, why not, folks?
If you had blood vessels, you would then see them, and that would obstruct your vision. So we had to develop a lens that's transparent, that blood vessels and blood are not transparent. So they would always leave a little filter on there. There's this very, very fascinating type of protein that is it's like this insoluble fiber protein inside your eye and inside the lens that allows it to be transparent. And there's a lot of other unique things about this lens that I'm going to share with you in a video, but it's an incredible piece of physiology and biochemistry that it's just amazing when you really learn about what this lens is and then what type of problems you can happen when you start getting like glaucoma or actually not glaucoma, cataracts. And we'll talk about that in a near future video. But boy, that lens of your eye is very, very rugged, and the immune system is very unique in the eye. So if you were to get an infection or a transplant of the lens, your body would not reject it. Compared to other organs, it would. So there's definitely this unique immune system that is separate from the rest of the body because, that would be a problem if your eye, once that lens goes, you can't see, you're not going to survive too well. So there's a lot of built-in things into this lens that helps you continue to see despite a lot of problems. I mean, how many times, Steve, have you ever walk through the woods and have a branch hit you in the eye or get punched in the eye and somehow you still could see? I mean, it's just amazing. Or you get a scratch on the eye. It's amazing that lens can take a beating, but it keeps working.
Well, you had to ask, Doc, because when I was at this teenage dance back in the 60s, there was an I-beam with a little hole in it. And I was looking through it and told some guy, oh, yeah, I can see. And by the way, this dates me. You could smoke. Kids could bring cigarettes into the little dance. The whole church auditorium was filled with smoke. And he stuck the cigarette through the hole straight into my eye. A red hot cigarette. Suddenly the lights came up. The band stopped. The emergency squad got there. And they put this salve or something in my eye. And the next day I could see again because I was gray. All I could see was blurred gray because it burnt the cornea or the lens or whatever it was. But the doc said that is the fastest healing tissue in your body. And that's why you were able to, in whatever that was, 24 hours, able to see again. But that's scary. I don't know whatever became of the genius that stuck the cigarette through the thing, but the chaos was so immediate, he got lost in the crowd giggling away or whatever awful thing he did. But anyway, so I agree with you. Instead of a stick in the eye, I had a cigarette in the eye, and I've still got great vision these many years later. So thank you, nature, for doing that for me. That's fantastic. And now let's get me off.
I hate when that happens.
Oh, yeah. I do too. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go back to social media, excuse me. Sarita from YouTube, I am new to keto, but having trouble breaking free of grains in my diet. What suggestions do you offer? Some sort of corporal punishment?
Yeah, grains definitely are highly addictive. I think the best way is just to understand more of a understanding of what grains really are. You're eating a lot of concentrated seeds. Our bodies naturally are not designed to eat a lot of concentrated seeds. They come with a package. They come with anti-nutrients. They come with gluten, that is the only protein that we can't digest. They come with weight gain and increased insulin resistance. I think a better approach would be to definitely eat those grains, but in a different form. Like maybe you sprout them for a week or 2 weeks and then eat the baby microgreens. Now you're going to actually, you're going to be able to digest them. They're not going to bother you. Of course, they don't quite taste like the bread, pasta, cereal, crackers, biscuits type thing. But the other option would be to look up some of the recipes on our website on the grain substitutes. There's wonderful almond flour. There's other types of alternatives that you can make for your cookies, candies, breads, and pasta and pizza crust.
Wonderful. Okay, Scott from Melbourne, Australia, would like a chemistry lesson. He said, I just purchased xylitol and grapefruit seed extract as you recommended for sinus care. What is the recipe for the spray? And he thanks you.
What I recommend is you basically take a half a glass of water, warm water, and you dissolve about one teaspoon of xylitol. Okay, and just like 2 or 3 drops of that grapeseed extract. And that's all you need.
Terrific. Go for it. Okay, speaking of places other than the contiguous U.S., even though these people aren't answering the questions yet, we'd like to say a good morning to all our viewers joining us from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Jordan, Thailand, Finland, Costa Rica, France, Peru, Kenya, Indonesia, Algeria, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Denmark, Italy, Greece, Poland, Israel, Norway, Egypt, Hong Kong, Croatia, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Uruguay, Tunisia, Bermuda, Nigeria, Ghana, Montenegro, Austria, Iraq, the Virgin Islands. Terry hasn't tricked me up with a weird pronunciation yet. Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Antigua, Scotland, Jamaica, South Africa, Turkey, goodness, Trinidad and Tobago, the Philippines, Nicaragua, Ethiopia, Estonia, I don't think we've heard from them for a while. Islamabad, I don't think we've ever heard from them. Chechnya, Oman, Australia, New Zealand, Hungary, and of course, all across these United States. So thank you all for joining in. Now answer the questions, for goodness sakes. Laura from Facebook, can there be pain associated with a liver cleanse? I've been having lower back pain and hip pain since cleansing my liver. I don't know what she's cleansing it with.
There's all sorts of detoxes that I've done before that put me in a bunch of hurt. I'm talking about a detox like inflammation. They can stir up inflammatory things because you're releasing things from the cells and you're releasing things that can affect the liver and definitely stir up an immune reaction that can show up in kind of weak links, especially your lower back. What you could do is you can do a couple things. You could take bentonite clay or activated charcoal to kind of soak up some of those toxins to see if that doesn't resolve it. And then let's say that doesn't resolve it, then I always, as my go-to for lower back pain, is take more vitamin D, D3. Take 20,000 IUs, maybe 30,000. And that usually will knock it out of the ballpark unless there's some other reason why you have low back pain. But it's date coincidence with this detox. So I would start with those things like to help soak up the toxic material.
Very good. Let's go back to the green room, this time with Ava, who is calling in from Oregon. It rains there all the time. Go ahead, Ava.
Good morning. I'm a fan. My question is about sodium. I have so much trouble with salt. I'm doing keto. I take low sodium electrolytes. I don't like salt. I rarely use it when I cook, but I have so much trouble with swollen ankles and lower legs. It's a real problem. I had a TIA December 16th, very little deficit. And I have a heart monitor on right now. And I just don't know what to do about the sodium. It eliminates a lot of products I can buy because I always check the sodium levels.
Yeah.
They're sky high.
So I think we'd probably put you in the category of like sodium sensitive, or you're more sensitive to sodium than you should be. But the point is that the best way to do that, and because you could only go so far with sodium, I mean, we need at least like over 2,000 milligrams per day for various reasons, building hydrochloric acid in your stomach. I mean, we need sodium to a certain degree. So the solution is to start increasing your potassium levels higher and higher, because that will offset and protect you against those symptoms that are occurring from sodium. And so that will also push the fluid out. So whatever you're taking, start increasing more potassium, but that is the solution. And then, of course, realize that there's these minerals also work, especially when we're talking about electrolytes. You may need a little bit magnesium as well, but I would definitely increase more potassium. Have you been doing that already?
Yes, but I'm not sure how much to take of the potassium.
Like, for example, the potassium electrolyte I have has 1,000 milligrams. So I would probably do 2, maybe even 3 a day, scoops of that, and then have more like bigger salads as well, because of course the salad has the high potassium and low sodium. If you want to get even more potassium, make your salads with the microgreens. That'll just really spike your potassium, and it's very low sodium. And I think you'll feel better once that is working better. But there's something in your body called the sodium potassium pump, and it's in every single cell. So, so we definitely want the sodium, but we got to get the right ratios going on with more potassium. And I think after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of having more potassium, things will balance out real nicely, and your fluid will actually do better as well.
So you mentioned liquid potassium as opposed to, I have a supplement capsules.
What milligram does your supplement come in with the potassium?
I can see it right here.
Because they only sell it in like 99 milligrams. And so there's one that I recommend, my electrolyte powder, that comes in 1,000 milligrams. So that would be a lot easier than taking 10 of those pills a day, 3 times a day.
Yeah, Dr. Berg's formula is yummy. You won't have to choke it down.
Okay, and does that have a lot of salt in it, the electrolyte powder?
No, it's very low in salt. It's very high in potassium. Now, of course, don't get the sport electrolyte one. Just get the regular one, and it's a very, very small amount. It still has some, but it definitely the potassium far outweighs that little bit of tiny potassium. I'm sorry, the little bit of sodium.
That's great. Well, listen, thank you so much, Ava. We appreciate you coming on, and we hope your ankles shrink down to a lovely level. And we'd love to hear back from you to see how things are progressing with you. Let's see. Not to be outdone, this happens very often. The shout out, some people got very jealous because they didn't chime in yet. And they include Pakistan, the Congo, Ireland, Morocco, Ecuador, Haiti, Brazil, Romania, and India. That's a big place. Don't want to forget them. So thank you all so much for watching. I think we have maybe a strike on hand. I don't see, Terry, the answers to question number 2. Or did we bring that up, Doc? I'm not sure if we did.
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. Well, then they're forgiven. Here you go. Let's go with it.
Let's ask another question.
Okay.
All right. So the most important vitamin in preventing acne is fill in the blank.
Sorry for accusing you of not participating, audience. My humble apologies. Speaking of the audience, L from YouTube, I've been diagnosed with a connective tissue disease. It's not rheumatoid arthritis, though. Any recommendations for a natural way to treat this condition? It's not a lot of information, but what do you think, Doc?
Yeah, of course. I don't know your genetics, but I will say that there's definitely several genetic problems, even variations of your genes that can give you weak collagen and connective tissue, in which case you want to make sure that you don't overtrain with exercise. You want to make sure you want to recover. Probably bone broth would be a really good, and also collagen powder would be a good thing to take, as well as the vitamin C. But make sure the vitamin C is in a whole form coming from food, because you need vitamin C as a co-helper for the collagen.
Very good. Okay, now this doesn't require an answer from you, Doc, but it does require a bell ring, because Beth Ann from Facebook, I've been on your healthy keto plan since October and have lost 27 pounders. Thank you so much, she says. So good for you, Beth. Doesn't that feel fantastic? Let's move on. Let's see. Poonam from Singapore on Facebook. My 21-year-old daughter has very bad cramps during her period. Her gynecologist has only recommended painkillers. Help!
So think about what a cramp is. Definitely any cramp. The muscle is over contracting. There's a couple quick things I would do, because if you look at what causes relaxation in a muscle, it's magnesium and also potassium. So if they take a little bit more magnesium, and sometimes they have to add it with calcium, because it's not just about the relaxation. You need that whole contraction relaxation. That a lot of times will get rid of the cramps. Definitely a little bit before your menstrual period. And so why would you get that in the first place? Well, it could be that you have a subclinical problem with magnesium, and you're going into this and everything is magnified during the cycle. But, the uterus is cramping. And so it's very simply, we need to take that cramp out, just like you would if you had a leg cramp.
Very good. Okay, well, the audience is made up for the first question with a lightning fast answer to the second one, which asks, the most important vitamin in preventing acne is, drum roll please, 55% of our respondents say zinc, 30% say vitamin A, 10% say vitamin D, and the last 5% say vitamin E. Who's right?
The vitamin D category. Now, you are right. Zinc is going to be important, and vitamin A is going to be important. But what is even more important is this vitamin D. Vitamin D is going to help suppress the bacteria involved in acne. It's going to help regulate the cells that make up the sebaceous gland that produces the oil that's all swollen. Vitamin E is going to take the inflammation out of the entire thing. And so it does a lot of different cool things for acne. And so, unfortunately, especially when you're going through your teens, you get this acne, or a lot of people do. I did. It was terrible. Boy, if I only would have known, right? Instead of scrubbing my face, trying to clean off, thinking it's dirt or something, or the blackheads, whatever, you take a lot more vitamin D, and then you also fix the other component part, which is the high androgen issue, over like the hyperandrogen problem. And the way you do that is you don't snack so frequently, or don't snack at all, and you cut out the carbs. I mean, that's like the perfect program for anyone trying to get rid of acne, and it works. And so you start doing intermittent fasting, and watch what happens to your face. I mean, it's going to clear right up, and you're going to be quite surprised and very happy.
All right, let me see. Here we go. Here's a new one. Veronica from YouTube. Got to help her. I have both Graves and Hashimoto's. Sleep is not good. Would your sleep aid supplements be okay to take along with your D3K2 supplement? Yes.
I think it really would help you greatly, because you have an autoimmune problem. And so you need to sleep, and that would be a very smart thing.
All right. Now, Afreen from YouTube, what are your thoughts about taking baking soda to keep our bodies alkaline?
Don't recommend it because our bodies need, like, for example, if I were to ask you, what is the pH of the stomach? Should it be alkaline? If I ask you, what would be the pH of your large intestine? Should it be alkaline? The answer is no. And when you alkalize these tissues, you create other problems. Yes, it's true that the blood should be slightly alkaline, but the way you get it there is to eat healthy, not to try to change your pH one way or the other. It won't work. So there's a lot of false information that we need to alkalize the entire body, because if you start alkalizing your stomach, now what's going to happen? You're going to have pathogens that can survive the stomach acid and then create SIBO and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And you'll start getting problems with a lack of absorption of minerals, lack of digesting proteins, undigested proteins. So you have a lot of digestive issues. So I'm very much against trying to alkalize the entire body, when you really should just be eating healthy and let the body go into whatever pH it needs to establish.
Very good. Okay, Bonnie from YouTube. Myself and my siblings are all over 55, and we're all noticing changes in our bodies with a lot of aches, pains, and stiffness. And let me tell you something, ladies, I'm 68. And what this indicates is you're well on your way to your great reward. I don't want to be dreary, but they're having stiffness, and they want to know what they're doing, even though they're slowly decaying.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things you can do. Of course, start with the basics. Get the basic eating in. I just did a video on stiffness, for example. Stiffness could come from many different things. Usually there's a low-grade inflammatory thing going on because you're consuming too many omega-6 fatty acids and not enough omega-3. Omega-3, like fish oils, especially cod liver oil, won't work unless you at the same time reduce the omega-6. That's all the soy, the canola oil, the corn oil, the vegetable oil, the sesame seed oil, the sunflower oil, the safflower oil. All those oils are very inflammatory, including grains. So you get rid of that, take the omega-3, and there's other, I would just watch my video on stiffness, but, and then regular, if you have old injuries like me, you're going to have to figure out some type of workout where you can start stretching your fascia. I don't know if I did a video on that recently, but I should. But there's a great stretches you can look up on YouTube for really working with the fascia and kind of getting rid of some of the scar tissue that's developed within this thing that holds the tissue together and the muscle together that a lot of times gets stiffened with age, and then you can't turn your neck and you can't straighten up. So you have to actively work that out on a daily basis.
Okay, very good. Let's go back to the green room. And this time from Florida, we have Lena coming in from Miami. So Lena, if you would unmute yourself, you are on with Dr. Berg.
Good morning, Dr. Berg. How are you? Good morning. My question is related to brain inflammation and autoimmune diseases. So you did a great video this morning that pretty much explains, the foods that you can eat, the supplements that you should be taking, and the nutrients that are more important whenever you do have an autoimmune disease. But my question right now is when the inflammation occurs in the brain, and that starts to really affect your psychic. So my question will be how keto and IF can really be, the way to go to reduce that inflammation in the brain.
Right. Good question. Is that related? Are you talking about MS? Lupus. Yeah. Well, keto, fortunately, gives an alternative fuel source to the brain, and it fuels the brain from a whole different mechanism. And so it bypasses the normal thing. And so if there's damage in the neurons, it will feed it from a different angle. And the brain actually, and the nervous system and the myelin sheath around the nerves work better on ketone fuel. So when you actually don't eat or you go low carb, you force the body to run on ketones. It's a huge difference between having a lot of inflammation and having no inflammation. Ketones themselves are anti-inflammatory. And then when you fast, you have this additional really cool thing where you go into autophagy, where now, even in the brain, you start to have this cleanup of all the garbage and junk that occurs within the neurons. So you get this anti-aging effect. It stimulates something called the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which will actually help you grow new brain cells. So there's so many magical things that happen. But also, as a side note, watch my recent video that's not related to what you said, but it is related in an indirect way, relating to the best diet for Alzheimer's. There's a really important point that I get into the detail, but because what you have, or whoever has this problem, they have this autoimmune issue. You have antibodies and you have inflammation. So you have to be on something that's the most important thing, is get rid of the inflammation, anything that contributes to it. And grains and grain seed oils are at the top of the list, and so is sugar. So And this is why diabetics have more problems with their immune system, with autoimmune problems, with inflammation.
Okay. I think, what happens to me is that I feel really well. And then whenever, I don't know if people know this, maybe people who do struggle with lupus will understand. It's like it's a cyclic thing. You feel great, and then you have moments where you don't feel great at all. And I feel like I've tried every single diet out there, even when I didn't know about the diagnosis. I was constantly advised to just, have a lot of fruits. And every time I will eat fruits, I will feel horrible. Or like, you need to eat a lot of quinoa. No, I will feel horrible. But, what I guess, my and I don't want to call it a worry, but I do wonder, as a woman, will it be the same, fasting in women and men? Maybe that's a different question. But if I am having one of those episodes where I feel, not great, will that be a good moment to increase my fasting window? Or if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it's good to prove it to yourself that that will work. The great majority, I'm talking 95% of people, when they start fasting, if they have any problem, inflammation, autoimmune, it just all of a sudden it gets better. Why is that? Because you're creating a type of stress that makes your body get stronger, and it affects you at a genetic level. It really helps the anti-inflammatory genes and the immune genes go into the right direction you want them to go into. So, and I think keeping a log and just identifying when you do bad, what you ate just before is going to be really important. But I will say, working with tens of thousands of people, it will work usually for everyone that has autoimmune.
Well, that's great. Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Lena, so much.
I will give you a money back guarantee. Of course, I didn't charge anything. So anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. Please, as always, Lena, get back with us and let us know how fasting or whatever you try helps you. It's fascinating to hear back, and thank you for joining us on today's show. Let's see. Go back to. Did I answer the question, Terry? Let's see. Now we got one more. Let's try this one. Here's a new one. Take it away, Doc.
Okay. Why do people get a yeast/candida infection after they take antibiotics?
All right, audience, climb on that. And let's go back to social media. Micah from YouTube, what is the root cause of alopecia? What is within the hair that immune system is attacking? What's going on with alopecia?
Now, I will say there are some genetic factors that make people susceptible if their diet isn't right, if their stress is nice and low, which good luck on planet Earth. So that being said, usually these autoimmune diseases originate in the gut because you're maybe eating something that's creating inflammation, and then you get something that passes through that little junction that's supposed to be tight, and then your immune system reacts, and then you start developing antibodies to these problems. So because alopecia is an autoimmune problem. That being said, there are natural things you can do to offset that and prolong the problem or improve the problem. Done a lot of videos on that. You would want to take things that reduce this one enzyme called a 5-alpha reductase, which is a type of enzyme that normally is increasing testosterone into DHT, which is burning out your hair follicles. And so there's a lot of natural things for that. One that I like the most is something called stinging nettle root, because that does not just that. It gets rid of inflammation. It helps reduce and balance estrogen. There's a lot of really cool things in stinging nettle root that can help you.
Okay, very good. Lena talked about lupus and autoimmune diseases. Here's Julie from YouTube. Can healthy keto help someone with MS? What a terrible condition that is.
I think it's going to help them to a certain degree, but they're also going to need to do fasting, prolonged fasting, periodic prolonged fasting. And they're also going to need to do higher levels of vitamin D. Now, I'm going to just say something. I'm going to be getting into DNA a lot. I'll be creating a lot of videos. I'm just organizing that right now. It's fascinating. I wish I had this tool in practice. It will allow people to finally figure out why they have these weird symptoms that don't seem to go away when you take the remedy. That's one thing it can do. And so there's a lot of people that even if they take, 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, it's still not working for them. They need to take much, much higher greater levels of the vitamin D because genetically there's a problem with the conversion, there's a problem with the absorption, and it just doesn't go in. I mean, as I'm, reading these DNA reports, quite a few people have a problem with vitamin D and they had no idea. So here they are taking the 5,000 IUs or even 10,000 IUs, and they still don't notice the difference. And so they give up on it, thinking that's not going to work. And now they really go down. So it's really about finding out what's wrong with you personally and then addressing that. But sometimes you have to kind of look inside the body and see what's going on. And so the DNA stuff is going to be the wave of the future. But the problem for most people is finding someone that can explaining it to you so it's not so high level and confusing. And that's been difficult. And that's where I'm going to help people. I'm going to actually create these videos and I'm going to explain it as if you were a 7-year-old. So that way you can get it.
Oh boy, Terry. That'll be anyway. Next up,
so even Steve can get it.
Let's see now. Now let's go on to the phone. In this case, Jenna from Sweden, or perhaps her dad Wasim. Jenna, are you there?
I'm here. I'm taking my dad's place.
Okay, she's taking her dad's place. Jenna, you are on with Dr. Berg. Go ahead with your brief question.
Morning. I will ask a question said that, and that's been bugging some of the people among me. What are your thoughts with the laser hair removal for the whole body or the IPL laser? If it's bad, safe, does it cause cancer? Does it affect fertility? Will there be a long-term damage?
Maybe you can hear her, Steve, but I can't
Well,
hear her.
I tell you what, Jenna, I'd like you to get a little closer to the mic because we could hear you pretty good at the end of your comment. Repeat your question and get a little closer to the mic, please.
Okay. I will ask a question that's been bugging some of the people among me. I would like to know your thoughts about the laser hair removal for the whole body or IPL laser. If it's bad or safe, does it cause cancer? Does it affect...
Steve, I can't hear anything, but maybe you can repeat it.
I can. So she wants to know about all whole body laser hair removal treatment. Wants to know if it could possibly create cancer or any other health things. Is that an okay thing to do?
Good question. I don't know about these laser treatments. I'm not excited about them, especially when you're removing hair. And I'm definitely not excited about some of the creams that remove hair too, that you're putting on your body. Unfortunately, there's just not a quick solution other than the wax and the tape and ripping out the hairs and experiencing all that wonderful pain. But I don't know about that. And my first reaction is I don't think I like it, especially if it's a hot laser.
Interesting.
And
okay,
that was my sarcasm.
Good. And Jenna, I'm so sorry that we can't kind of go on with that. It was very difficult to hear you, but I think the consensus is here that that might not be the best thing in the world. And if you want to torture your dad, give him a full back waxing. I had one of those once as a gift and will never request it again. The sissy came out in me.
Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
Oh my gosh, this wonderful, cheery Vietnamese girl was doing it to me, and she just, I think, started getting this sort of delight every time I would wrench up in horror. I think it was amusing her. I was such a sissy. But anyway, I don't recommend that for Harry Scotsman. All right, let's move on, and let's go back to the green room. Elaine is smiling, and that always encourages me. If anyone's, listen, go ahead, Elaine, with your question for Dr. Berg.
Thank you very much. I have a friend that is started using an EMS exercise suit from a company called Catalyst. And he said he does his exercises and he turns up the amount of electricity that's going into his muscles. And that makes me very uneasy. And I was curious what your insights are, if you have any resources I could give to him that gives him some of the warnings of why he might not want to use that form of exercise equipment.
Now, is it electric impulses or is it electromagnetic fields?
It's electric. It's like giving you little shocks on your muscle.
Oh, the TENS unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had those units before, and I've even had one that puts 50,000 impulses a second. I don't know if that's the best way to stimulate the muscle. I really don't. I don't know the side effects, but I think it's more for a therapy. I know some people use it on their stomach, so that way they don't have to do a sit-up. I think just going back to the old-fashioned, workouts might just be the optimum way to do this, because you want to get a full contraction relaxation versus just a stimulus. There's all sorts of tricks and things that people are doing to try to, work their muscles. I'm not crazy about that electric stim for your muscles at all. So I don't know of any long-term side effects, but if you start twitching when you take it off, then we know there's a problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great. Thank you so much for your succinct question, Elaine. That allows us to get to everybody, and that is, in fact, everybody in the green room. So thank you all for being so disciplined and having such interesting questions. That was great. Okay, quiz question, the latest one, asked, why do people get a yeast candida infection after antibiotics? And guess what, Doc? 100% of our respondents say it's because antibiotics disrupt or kill off the healthy bacteria and flora in your gut. Are they onto something?
They are onto something. What you have to realize that the gut is made up of not just bacteria. It's made up of friendly yeast and at least 100 different types of friendly candida. And that's in the fungus family. So we have funguses and then we have bacteria. And the fungus group is called mycobiome, and the bacteria group is called microbiome. So you got both these things, and they work together. And so the bacteria keeps these microbes in check. They release at least 5 different compounds that regulate the overgrowth and the misbehavior of these fungus. And so when you wipe those guys out, you just get rid of the police, and then they start going unfriendly. Now they have an opportunity to turn on you, and the relationship changes to a very unfriendly candida. So anytime that you take an antibiotic and take it sparingly, you better at the same time take a probiotic and realize that yeast infection can then get out of hand real fast. And then, of course, then people take medication for fungal infections or yeast, and then they create bacterial resistance and other side effects and problems with the bacteria. So you have some interesting things living inside you that are helping you, and you kill one thing off, another, and you create another problem. So you have to take the big picture and look at the consequences of some of these treatments out there that are only focused on one thing. And this, I think this is the problem even in medicine. They're over-specialized, and they're all in their separate islands, focused on this, but they're not looking at the whole picture.
Okay, very good. We're going to go to Stephen on Facebook for his cancer question, but first let's knock out another question. There you go, Dr. Berg. Okay.
What is the food with the highest amount of vitamin K2? And vitamin K2 is a vitamin that is responsible for making your bones really solid and strong, driving the calcium in the bones and the teeth, and it does other things as well. But that would be a big function.
Very good. Okay, as promised, Stephen from Facebook, what are the best foods to eat to fight cancer, or maybe foods not to eat? What do you say, Doc?
So cancer is a problem with the mitochondria. You have damage in the DNA of the mitochondria, and as an adaptive compensation to that, to survive, it shifts its metabolism to no longer running on one fuel system. It can actually ferment mainly glucose. Okay, so that's really what's going on. So now, what diet should be on to support that? Well, something that does not cause damage, something that promotes the health of the mitochondria. And there's a lot of foods that will do that. A nice balance of green raw vegetables with all the antioxidants. But at the flip side, if you just eat vegetables or a vegetarian or vegan diet, then you're setting yourself up for deficiencies unless you take certain vitamins and things like that. So you do want a balance of really healthy animal proteins together. So basically, that's why I think the healthy version of the ketogenic diet is the best way to prevent cancer. Once you get cancer, there's a slightly different program. I've done videos on that because now you have to, depending on how severe it is, you might have to add a lot more fasting and not as much protein. But I talk about that in some recent videos.
Very good. We've got some feedback, Dr. Berg, from the field. Bridget from Facebook says she increased her vitamin D3 on your recommendation, and my whole body feels better. I sleep better, I breathe better, and my aches and pains are much more or less. I'm going to question that grammar. That's all right. Unbelievable. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And sorry for being a grammarian. That was mean of me, Bridget. I never get it right.
That's great. Awesome.
Isn't that terrific? So, well, give her a little bell on that. I'm glad you feel better. Dr. Nashi, from Facebook, what dietary advice would you offer a patient who's a hemophiliac? Boy, I haven't heard of that condition for a while.
I would just, nothing special. I would do the routine, healthy version of the ketogenic diet. I do know that black seed is a good remedy for that condition. So that would take that in addition to the normal ketogenic diet and with the intermittent fasting, and definitely do periodic prolonged fasting. And that's a standard routine thing that I would do. And I would love to have feedback from a medical doctor that all they do is kind of start, instead of treating the symptoms as a primary thing, get people on the basic eating plan and then reevaluate to see if those symptoms are still there. They're going to be quite surprised how many of those problems go away if you just work on what people eat. And unfortunately, what's recommended in medicine as far as what to eat comes from the dietitian, which, you know what, it's just highly political. And of course, whoever has the largest funding for lobbyist groups gets to be in that pyramid.
Okay, this is a fundamental question, I think, from Justin on Facebook. I'm having trouble understanding how natural sugar will knock me out of ketosis. Please share your thoughts.
Well, I think you're probably talking about natural sugar from fruit, right? That's what I guess, natural sugar, or you should talk about sugar cane. Well, fruit and sugarcane and beets all have a good portion of glucose and fructose. So then you also have dextrose, which is glucose made synthetically. So you got the unnatural, natural. And but the actual chemistry of that glucose and fructose is the same as the synthetic. But you also have other things in fruit. For example, you have the phytonutrients and vitamins and some fiber, etc. But when we're talking about sugar, of course, it's going to be way better if you have natural sugar in its whole form. But if you're just doing, let's say, cane sugar, which is natural, right? And versus synthetic sugar, you're probably going to have the same problems because you lack the antioxidants and you're still spiking the blood sugar. So when you consume fructose, it doesn't actually affect your blood sugars very much, but it goes right to your liver, and it indirectly creates insulin resistance indirectly. So it does affect you indirectly in a major way. I released a video on that recently, but just because the sugar is natural, whether it's coconut sugar or whatever, it's still going to spike the blood sugar. And that is the problem with sugar, whatever source it comes from.
All right, very good. We have feedback on the question here. The latest one asked, what food has the highest amount of K2 in it? And 40% of our respondents say it's cruciferous veggies, 20% say sauerkraut or other fermented foods, 20% say leafy greens, 10% say butter, that's interesting, and 10% say natto or kefir. Natto or kefir.
Okay, so maybe some people who mentioned cruciferous were thinking about the K1, but I'm talking about K2. That's different. And I would say a certain amount of the vitamin K2 comes from K1 in your gut. So you can make some K2 from microbes. And believe it or not, E. coli is one of the microbes that makes K2. So you do have somewhat friendly E. coli in our guts. But here's the thing. Someone mentioned natto, which is a fermented soybean, and that would be the number one. But because the majority of the population probably will never eat natto because of the way it tastes. Yeah, it's an acquired taste. I'm gonna talk about the number one food that most people will eat. How about that? I had to clarify that, and that would be cheese. Cheese, raw milk cheese, and out of all the cheeses, the hard cheese has the most, except for one cheese that's a semi-soft cheese, which has even more than that, and that's the Munster cheese. And I'm not talking about the American Munster cheese. I'm talking about the stuff you would get in France, and that's where you get the real stuff, and that will give you the most K2. So those raw milk cheeses are going to give you the K2, and it's going to, like you're saying, whoa, wait a second, they're so filled with saturated fat, that's going to harm my arteries. No, it's not. I know you've been taught that, but the K2 is going to keep the calcium out of the arteries. And anyone who says that eating saturated fat is going to create heart problems, just ask them for the reference to study. And they're going to actually show you a study. And if you read it, it's going to be usually an observational study. And that involves the saturated fat because they're eating too many fast foods. But they're not going to differentiate that between all the sugar and the processed foods with the saturated fat. They lump it all into one thing, and then they call it, well, saturated fat's bad because we did this study. Yeah, but was it isolating saturated fat as a variable? No, it wasn't, because there isn't any study like that.
Goodness.
And if there is, please send it to me. I'd love to see it.
All right, we're waiting. Send it in. Now, by the way, we have demonstrated that our audience is very smart. How would you like to get smarter, audience? Well, you can by downloading Dr. Berg's app, and you can see the video, find the video so much easier. And the better news is it's available on iOS or Android products. So, folks, get that, and you'll be even screaming faster on the quiz questions. Okay, let's see. We should also talk briefly about the fact that, it's not just the United States that enjoys your products, but other areas. So, Dr. Berg, can you tell them about the progress we're making in getting your great products into places around the globe?
Yeah, we're expanding of making things available. I think we're almost available in India too, so that's good. If you want more information, there should be a link down below in the comment section or in the description section.
Okay, why don't we wrap up with social media? Michael from YouTube, please share your thoughts about the benefits of krill oil. Krill oil.
I like krill. I like it. It's very, very high in omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA. And again, I think the majority of the population is just too inflamed, and they need to beef up, no pun intended, the amount of omega-3. And krill oil is one way to do it. You can do it with cod liver oil, but krill is very concentrated, and it's a really good source. On that note, I really Appreciate all the wonderful comments that I read all week long. And even on this show, you stayed this long, and I really appreciate that. Stay tuned for more of my videos this next coming week on some interesting topics, and have a